So the way we're going to tackle today's topic, and I have a whole journey for you, I have all these videos ready to go, okay, is I want you to remember that we are animals evolved on a planet having a biological experience in which we have a limited access to what we think of as free will, and yet we can still put one foot in front of the other. So when we make decisions, those decisions do not exist in a vacuum. And so whether or not our intention matches our actions, or whether or not our actions are even a choice, we have to be able to, if you would like to have a deeper relationship with self, deconstruct, introspect, extrospect, which are all three different things, to come to hopefully an outcome which is the best in relation to reducing harm. So let's talk about recent news, taking a few stories, trying to deconstruct using these stories to better understand ourselves. So Hasan, when I left last week for a little staycation, okay, Hasan had been accused of zapping his dog Kaya. I'm just going to give you a little reminder of what that was. Okay, here's the clip.
It's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just fucking go, just stop. Jesus Christ, what are you doing? You're being such a baby. It's just, you're making her stressed. She just literally is so incredibly spoiled from my mom. No, she doesn't want to come over here to see what's up. She just wants to fucking roam the house because she got to roam the house when I was gone.
Okay. So there was a deep conspiracy about Hasan zapping his dog, and that's what's true, and that's what happened, and that's what's frustrating. Okay. Again, I am very particular with how we examine these stories. So here's the note I was making to myself earlier on stream, okay? When you examine a situation, and this is something that I've put my foot in my mouth 100 times as a streamer, because I never clarify what perspective I'm looking at something before I speak. So I'm going to try really hard to do that today. Am I coming from this from a friend perspective, a coworker perspective, a therapist perspective, a mom perspective, a teacher perspective, an observer perspective? And this will change your reaction to something. So if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I'm terrified, something really bad happened, can you be a friend right now? The question is, well, what does it mean to be a friend to you right now? Do you need me to comfort you? Do you need me to report you? Do you need me to get you help? You know, if you come to your parent, let's say, hey, mom, I'm really struggling. I really need your help. Usually a parent in that situation would add, some sort of maybe intervention, maybe some medical intervention, something. The implication is that an action will follow, right? So here's Hasan, a very big streamer. And the reason I open up my content with I don't follow Hasan like that is to explain to people that I'm not a fan of Hasan, nor am I a hater. He's just some guy on the internet that I tried to watch and didn't really enjoy because I felt him to be, one, not progressive enough, and two, too much of a boy in the way that I'm not a boy. He's just he reminds me too much of my brother, who has issues with pride, very Vegeta Endeavor coded. And these boys just struggle with humility. They don't have humility. So they're not interesting to me, okay? Now, when I see Hasan have this situation with Kaya, I had an opinion that I thought was like a pretty reasonable opinion. It was basically like, I'm not sure that he zapped her, though obviously it hurt my feelings to see that he didn't right away get up to comfort her. He's not far off from most people I know who own dogs, especially men, and think that owning that dog, the way to have a relationship with that dog is to be sort of aggressive or, dominant or something like that, right? Look at this chatter. It says, I just popped in. Is this a pro or anti-Hasan stream? Neither. The fact that it has to be either is exactly what I'm trying to deconstruct today. The internet is not a place to go for nuance because you guys refuse to have it. In order to hold nuance, we must be able to exhibit it ourselves. So I'm not the only one who was attacked by both Hasan haters and Hasan fans. Anthony also was attacked. Okay? Anthony was also attacked. So this felt very reassuring to me as a streamer when Anthony was also attacked. Okay, so just a little bit from Anthony.
I mean, the people that were getting upset, to be honest with you guys, are definitely the minority. But like, I'll be honest with you guys, the channel lost like 50 subscribers because there was like a Reddit post. And look,
right? Okay, Chad says, I love being in middle of the sandwich. If in middle of the sandwich you mean middle of the road, we are not middle of the road. We're not even in the sandwich. If you mean in middle of the sandwich, meaning like to observe, but just a reminder, we are not centrists. Uncentrist. Shame on you for existing. Okay? We are not a centrist. We are not even in the sandwich. That's the point. We are observers and we are trying to make our lives better. Okay? You know, Chad said, I mean, attacked by both sides. No, I do not love it. I hate it. It's a horrible display of human behavior. We do not need to be attacked by both sides. That does not mean we are more right. It means something is significantly going wrong. Okay? This is what I mean. This is what I mean. I should not be attacked by either side, but more than that, that doesn't mean I'm right. It means something has gone terribly wrong. Right? So Anthony posts these initial streams about Hasan and Kaya and has to take them down because he's being harassed. Then he has to make this stream to come up to be like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but if you expect me to be a Hasan fangirl, that's not what's going to happen here. And I'm like, exactly, girl.
It's fine. It's fine. Yo, if you're that extreme of a viewer where a slight disagreement is enough to make you unsubscribe, that's fine. You're probably not the kind of viewer that I would want on here, or if I'm only useful to you, if I fit your narrative, or if I'm spewing out stuff that makes for like a good clip that can help prove one of your points at some point. But then if I say something that slightly deviates from it, then all of a sudden I'm being told that I'm doing this to get back into H3's good graces. That was really
crazy, bro.
After everything we've done on this channel,
Mm-hmm.
apparently I'm trying to suck up to the H3 podcast and the Fupa Troopers. I cannot repeat it enough how much, like when, for example, when Hasan posted a clip of me, the first time this channel got any international attention was when Hasan reacted to a clip that Capri from the A-Raps podcast had shared on Twitter. Hasan reacted to it on his stream. I literally clipped Hasan reacting to us, even though for like 20 seconds of that clip, he's like off camera eating or some shit. And I still put that on my Instagram, and it's still up there. I don't post on Instagram very often, but like the post of Hasan reacting to us, it's still up on there on my Instagram because of how much I love Hasan and how much I...
So what Anthony does on his stream is what I tried to do. And the reason I've been really loving Anthony's his streams lately is because, and I don't know, again, we're all like the same. We're all West Asian. Hasan, me, and Anthony. Okay? We're all from the same... Our families are all from the same areas, okay? Turkey, Lebanon, and Iraq, okay? We're all the same. So when I sit there and I look at us and I hear them talk, I hear my family talk. And I can see Anthony's desire for nuance. I can see him saying, hey, if somebody's willing to change, I want to hear them out. Hasan is saying, hey, if someone's willing to change, I'll hear them out. I am saying, hey, if somebody is willing to change, I'm willing to hear them out. The dilemma, and this is the problem I think we all run into, right? Is like I think all of us in our career have been overly kind and charitable to the worst people. And more or less, even this deviation we see now in our communities, like our overlapping communities, because we don't all have the same community. We have our communities that overlap. There's a difference, okay? I think there's like a confusion about when you're progressive enough or not progressive enough. But for Hasan fans to attack us because they think we're trying to get in the good graces of these other people is a misunderstanding fundamentally of why we're approaching people with love and care and compassion. Because you have to understand, our families are these people we meet constantly with love, care, and compassion. Because we grew up with big families. We grew up with families that are struggling. We grew up in enough trauma, we know, right? Okay? And so again, when we have these conversations, you have to understand that we're trying to also humanize people. Now, the dilemma I see in all of this is that because, you know, and again, I don't want to lump Anthony in or speak for Anthony, of course, right? But for Hasan to be in the position he's in, it feels to me like, and when I say this, he will be conservative one day, it's not to say he will be MAGA, it's to say that he will not progress any further than he is now. Okay? And that's the dilemma I think we're seeing here. Chet said, I get it's uncomfortable having a ton of people disagree, but that's not harassment. He wasn't getting harassed. He was just getting overwhelmed with the amount of comments disagreeing with his take on the dog collar. I think that's a disingenuous way to fathom the reality of hearing all of this feedback constantly, right? It's why most content creators are told to not have feedback. Okay, I'll give you an example. On my stream channel, I do pay attention to you guys, okay? I like being here. It's a smaller community. It's easier. Over on my podcast channel, it is like, it's not a community there because the views are they're too big. And so I pop in, I see like 3,000 comments and I go, because I'm not going to be humanized there. It's too many people. So I understand for these big streamers, you guys just tune it out. But for us smaller creators, it's much more emotionally hard to look at our community. And imagine I'm working at a grocery store and you keep coming up to my deli and you're like, go fuck yourself. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, that's the problem, is like you're acting like we're not small enough to read comments, to see the community, to feel the feeling. And there wasn't even space for us to even fathom, and not go perfectly on Hasan's side, right? So again, regardless of how you feel about it. Now, that doesn't mean in any way that we are in any way siding with Ethan or Destiny or anybody. And look, I had been, and this is what I want to talk about today, I had been completely compassionate to these boys on the internet when I showed up, because my job of showing up on the internet the way I did, collabing with Destiny the way I did, was because I was told he was progressive. I was told he was non-binary or gender fluid. I was told he was open and poly. And I was painted a picture of a man who was progressive. And then I was, now I'm in the middle of it. And here I keep giving him the benefit of the doubt because of the way the internet likes to paint him. And I had no idea. The way my viewers were the reason, right? They were like, hey, go collab with Destiny. And I was like, okay. Now, I'm really lucky that a few of my viewers who used to be Destiny fans aren't anymore, and they're Brittany Simon fans. Hey, we love to see growth, because there's no way you could back this man at this point, right? Okay. So when we think about it from that perspective, Hasan was friends with Destiny, right? They were very close. Okay. Ethan and Hasan were friends. We also aren't exactly friends in the way that you think. Okay. So check this out. Let me show you. Okay, so shout out to Anthony. I'm sorry that he went through that, because that was painful. Check this out. So Ludwig was recently in the news, and this is why I want to paint this for you, because remember, as content creators, we have to decide how we're showing up. Okay, are we showing up as political commentators? I'm not. I'm a philosophy channel. Are we showing up as friends? I'm not. This is work for me. Are we showing up as educators? I'm not me. I didn't go to college, right? Like, how are we showing up? I'm showing up as a philosophy girly, educating in that perspective, but not from academia, from lived experience. Okay, so look at this that went around. Now I'm going to show you this clip of Asmund reacting to it, because I want to show you Asmund's perspective as well. Okay.
Ludwig, I think, has had enough. He's had enough.
I'm also not even friends with his son. Legitimately, I'm not. He's not someone that I invite to
Normalize this. Most streamers aren't friends, they're coworkers.
I retire. I will never speak to 95% of the streamers I collab with again. Hasan is part of that group. That's a fact. Do I think Hasan shocks his dog? I have no fucking clue. I think he lied about having a shock collar. I think he 100% had a shock collar. He's adamant that he hasn't shocked her, but that 100% is a shock collar, as a fact. I feel like that shit is 100% a shock collar. I uploaded this video called Huge Streaming Drama that talked about Hasan saying that streaming is harder than a 9 to 5. I poked fun at Hasan.
Oh, God. Oh, boy. Ah, jeez. Here we go.
And the video got a bit brigaded by Hasan fans who are upset.
Yeah.
And the sponsors, not so happy these days. I don't know if you know this. So I took it down. Because of that, I inserted myself into some shit that has been with me for 18 months. I had dealt with people who now thought that, hey, Hasan messaged me. He made the boss call. I had to take down the video. That's not what happened.
Do you remember when Amaru said that you shouldn't react to people's videos and then say you're doing it to make them lose revenue because it's bad fair use? And then a lot of Hasan's community called her a Zionist.
Just to give you a sense, this dude is still a freaking moderator in Hasan's chat.
This is so reasonable, and as no surprise, everybody is mad. They go and call Ludwig gutless Yakubian devil.
Now, to be clear, I want no beef with anyone. Hasan's community, Asmund's community, Destiny's community.
That means I'm out of content. You can't do this to me.
If what I said offended you, I apologize deeply. I am Chinese now. I'm leaving Twitch and YouTube anyway for Billy. Seriously.
I feel, bro, I actually think that he's had enough. I really do. I think that he's had enough.
Okay? It's the same reason as to why America, Ludwig, please just fucking go.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. That scared the fuck out.
Okay, so what I'm trying to convey here is a couple of things that I think is important. One, how are we approaching each of these topics? Because at the end of the day, and this is what happened when Destiny, I was only in the Destiny collab sphere for a year. And I went in, I think, really naive, and you can call me out for all the ways that I absolutely gave that community way too many chances. Okay. I was way too nice. And I came in philosophically. I was thinking, I'm going to come in kind of like Switzerland. But what do we know about Switzerland? They made money off the Nazis. Okay. And I started to realize, wait, you can't actually be neutral in this space. That as long as you are nice to these people, you are condoning their behavior. And their behavior, which was very confusing to me at the time, right? Like, I was genuinely so confused because I knew how traumatized everybody was. I really did. But I kept hoping they would get better. And then I realized they were never going to get better. When Asman said that horrible thing about Palestinians, and I thought, okay, he's apologizing, maybe he'll get better. He never did. He doubled down eventually, right? Every time I look at these boys in these spheres and I think they're going to get better, they never do. When I look at Hasan and I think maybe he'll get better, he never does. And that's what I mean about being conservative one day. If I do not get better, I will just be conservative one day, because just like TYT is like conservative now, right? It's like this thing of, I want people to understand, okay, that as long as you don't change, you will end up stagnant. And so the idea is like, how are we approaching this topic? If you're approaching this whole conversation with Hasan sucks and I'm going to find every reason to hate him, you're not being honest to yourself. Okay? Yeah, Chet says it was only a year. People make it seem like it was a decade of DGG. Okay, so people make it seem like it was a decade, and they did one thing to weaponize the harassment against me. What did DGG say to weaponize the harassment against me? You were his friend. How could you do this to him? What did Destiny do to weaponize our relationship? She was my friend. I never did anything against her. Why would she turn on me? What are you talking about? We are not friends. We are YouTube friends. We are content creator friends. We are not real friends, because in my life, I call out my friends. In real life, I put down very hard boundaries with friends. This was a coworker situation, which added to an element of weirdness, right? Ethan does the same thing too. Exactly. Ethan weaponizes the same thing. We were friends. iDubbbz and I were friends. Guys, you have got to deconstruct what's really happening here. What are we doing here? I didn't even get to consent to being your friend. I didn't even get, you don't know anything about me. But now we're associating, and I understand guilty by association. Do I think it's always fair? No. But I also, if I could go back in time, obviously I'd be like, Brittany, do not collab with anyone you haven't researched. Do not talk to this man. Like, this is such a toxic bubble. They're never going to change. All these boys you have faith in, stop it. But see, here's the problem. I don't have the same faith in Hasan that other people do, because I just see a lot of stagnation in him, and I'm just trying not to treat Hasan like he's different from any of these other boys. The issue with Hasan being attacked by these men is they are literally worse than him. They are literally in every way worse than Hasan. So obviously them criticizing him feels really silly, because they are horrible fucking people. Right? So the audacity of them thinking they are better than Hasan is so ridiculously offensive, because obviously they're all bad people. Okay, check this out. This is the weirdest inception. It's XQC watching Asbin, watching Hasan, watching Destiny, I think, or Destiny watching Hasan.
Liberalism. I hate everything that's going on every single fucking day of the goddamn week. I hate my life.
How this stupid motherfucker, his entire life, he's the most nepo baby piece of shit in the fucking universe. The most spoiled, rotten motherfucker. Rich parents that came from rich families that gave birth to a rich little nepo son. And being rich wasn't even enough. It wasn't even that he was a rich, spoiled little piece of shit who just like had money his whole life. Then he nepoed his way into another industry that another family member was established in. He had the largest fucking alternative left media.
Okay, so obviously hearing Destiny go after Hasan makes no sense. But I want you to know that Destiny's childhood was deeply abusive. He talks about it on stream a lot, right? Which is why he's incredibly abusive, because he didn't continue exact cycles, but he continued cycles. So let's talk about that for a second. When I approach people, I tend to end up playing the therapy role. Not that I mean to, but it's been that way my whole life. Even as a child, and this is probably the autism, even as a child, people would come to me, strangers on the internet, strangers or aunties and uncles, adults in my life, not my parents necessarily, but other people, and ask me about advice, like about their marriage or about their jobs, and I'm sitting here like, what's happening? Okay, this is a pretty typical autistic experience for a lot of girlies and boys who love philosophy, so I'm not surprised, okay? So when you are this person in people's life, that's what happened. I got introduced to Destiny. I did a collab, and all of a sudden him and his ex-wife are in my DMs asking me for advice. All of a sudden people in this sphere like, Britt, can I talk to you? I really need your advice. If I had $1 for every time somebody messages me, hey Britt, can I ask you something about XYZ? I need your advice. And like, that's the thing. I'm happy to be a help to the community. The dilemma is like, you probably should talk to somebody else. Whether it's about marketing your YouTube channel or it's about something with mental health, you should probably talk to somebody else. Oh, but I don't want to talk to anybody else. I want to talk to you. I want to ask you specifically. It's like, okay. I guess, right? Just says, do your parents do advice for others like that? Yeah. People love to come to my parents for advice. Yeah. Specifically my mom. People love going to my mom for advice. Yeah. I've seen that my whole life. So, okay. So when I introduced myself into the boy space, I thought they were progressive. That was a mistake. Then I thought, I'll be one of the boys because I am a boy. Okay, we're trans here, we're gender fluid here, we're gay here, we're queer here. So I was like, okay, well, I'm a boy. I'll be a boy with them. But then I didn't realize what kind of boys they were, and it was very confusing. And then I realized the misogyny was too big to be a safe space for a boy bubble. And then I realized, okay, these people aren't progressive. They're just not MAGA people, except they are the kind of liberals that would support Trump eventually, which was all very confusing to kind of figure out, right? Mikey with the super chat, thank you, says, welcome back, Diva. Why do you think most big streamers in this sphere seem like they thrive off bad faith interactions with each other? I think they're, okay, great question, because exactly what I want to talk about. I think they're traumatized. I think they're deeply fucked up. And I think all of us feel kind of safe in this space. I will speak for myself. I am medium fucked up. Okay? I am so lucky I did so much therapy work before I came into the Destiny sphere, because I stayed a lot less than I would have. And if I came into the Destiny sphere 10 years ago, I would have been fucked up. I would have thought I could save him. I would have thought I could save this group. I would have thought I would have died on this hill of he can recover. But because I had gone to therapy and I had done the work, I knew to leave. I left even slower than I should have. But see, this time around, I'm not going to be as slow, except this time around, it's Hasan. Because even though I will rightfully defend Hasan against the liars, I will not defend Hasan against the progressives calling him out, because they're right. Which is why I loved Cavernacle's video. We're going to talk about that in a second. Cavernacle calls out Hasan exactly in the way that I agree. And I'm sick of people not calling out Hasan because Hasan's community will harass them. The dilemma is that the Ethans and the Destinys and the Asmins have no place to talk because they're the worst people on the internet. Okay? So when we have these conversations and we're trying to decipher like what's happening, and this is the problem. Hasan is in hot water with the Black community, which he always is. Okay. And I understand this. Now I'll tell you something I did that every Black individual watching me has every reason to unfollow me for this reason. And I'm going to hold myself to that standard, because I should have held myself to that standard when I was hanging out with Destiny and Abba. Every time Destiny felt with his big boy chest vindicated in using the N-word, even with the soft A, on stream, that should have been enough for me to be like, I don't know what's happening here. I don't know if you're trying to be an edgelord or whatever, but this is so socially inappropriate and borderlining on dog whistling, if not a full dog whistle, to racist white people. And I should have known. I think in the moment I was there, I thought it wasn't my business. I really told myself that, like, this isn't about me. I'm not condoning this. He's his own man. This has nothing to do with me. But at the end of the day, the fact that I kept collabing with him made it my business, which really sucks, because, you know, you'd like to think that I'm working. It's a network. I'm not excited about it, but it is what it is. But the truth is I don't need Destiny. I always had a career before and after him. I could have at any point left, but I really told myself, and I don't want you to tell yourself this now, but I know you will, because we're human. It has nothing to do with me. This isn't my business. But I regret that. I should have made it my business, because, you know, it's exactly the reason Hasan and him kind of broke off in the first place. With Hasan, if I could be wrong, because I came into the Destiny space way after this. I used to think Hasan was a really bad person because I only knew him through Destiny, and then I only knew Destiny through my audience. So I was a little confused about who everybody was. But now that Hasan is again in hot water with the Black community, a big part of it is because when Hasan and Destiny broke up, initially, from my understanding, guys, correct me on the lore, okay, Destiny wanted to say the N-word on stream. Okay, soft A. which, you know, he uses a more arguable, I'm specifying because I'm autistic and it's necessary. Okay. Hasan said, don't. And he said, well, if I say it in private? And Hasan said, okay, but don't tell anybody, basically. Like, don't say it in private. Don't say it at all. Okay. And then Destiny was like, no. And then I understand. And this is the part that's really difficult, because if you zoom out of this lens and you look at this from a therapeutic, like, observation, it is so common for traumatized edgelords to have such severe PDA that they will blow up their whole career just so people don't tell them what to do. And I can see that. I can see it in every boy in this sphere, because I have that intrusive thought in my brain. That when people say, like, you know, don't say the R word, my brain's like, don't tell me what to do. And then I have to go, Brittany, they're not telling you this because they want to control you. They're telling you this because it's not helpful to the community. But I have that intrusive thought. And I don't know if it's because I'm autistic and probably ADHD. And I know all these boys are neurodivergent as well. There is something in my brain which got me in trouble so much in school and with parents and authority figures that, like, being told not to say fuck. Oh, I was going to say fuck. Do not tell me what to do. Right? Don't tell me what to do with your fucking stuck up religious beliefs, or tell me what to do with your fuck up bullshit predators you're hiding. You know, it's almost like this belief that nothing you say can be good if you're also doing this. XYZ, protecting predators, whatever else. Okay. So when we have these conversations, we have to understand that there is a part of our neurodivergency at play here, a part of our mental health at play here. You're just not going to be a content creator and not have something going on. Sorry. It's very, very unlikely that you could be a normie content creator with no fucking weird backstory, because at least not in this space, maybe in a different space on YouTube where people are wholesome and all that shit, but everybody has trauma. Okay. In this space on the internet, if you're involved in politics, if you're involved in activism, if you're involved, you're probably fucking coming from a place of trauma, because usually our sense of justice is rooted in our hope to break a generational curse and or the high we get from the stimuli of debate. The joke of the ADHD meme is like, sometimes ADHDers start arguments for a dopamine hit. If this isn't this space, I don't know what it is. Now, I try very hard to seek my dopamine in better places. Right? Chet says trauma doesn't cause the use of racial slurs. I think that's really reductive. Trauma causes you to neglect paying attention to yourself and or getting better or educating yourself. And when you grow up in a world in which you feel like agency is held by being rebellious, you might use slurs as a way to feel powerful. So the idea is you would say, this doesn't cause this. It's not one-to-one. What it is a reaction. So I covered this on my podcast, and people always mishear me when I say this. If you are molested as a child, you will go on to carry trauma, and you might repeat patterns, but it might not be a molestation. It might be anxious avoidant attachment. It might be putting up walls. It might be hypersexuality. It might be no sex for the rest of your life. It might be not being able to have children because you don't know how to have a relationship with a child. When you are traumatized, we are impacted by our environments. It carries on in some capacity moving forward. The question is, how does it manifest? Okay? How does it manifest? So yes, your trauma doesn't this, but your trauma obviously impacts action. The question is, and this is why deconstruction is important, am I doing this because I'm autistic, because I'm traumatized, or because I was raised under white supremacy? Am I doing this because I'm triggered, or am I doing this because it's my values? This is why it's so important to deconstruct. Why am I doing this thing? Why am I showing up this way? When Destiny first burned the bridge with me, okay, you remember how it happened? I was on stream and I was criticizing him for cheating on Melina. Yes? His community said, Brittany is talking about you on stream. He watches my stream and gets triggered. Then he blows up and goes, fuck Brittany, fuck all of this. I can't believe she said this about me. It must be her BPD. She's crazy. Because he never thought to pause and take into consideration that somebody could have a strict moral standing when it came to cheating. It never even crossed his traumatized brain that I could literally have an issue with him cheating. He kept being a conspiracy theorist and saying, somebody must have gotten in her ear. Somebody must have talked to her. You talked to me. It was you. Do you know what I'm saying? His trauma won't allow him to be a present father. Now, on top of trauma, there's introspection, extrospection. Destiny does not engage in strong introspection, extrospection, but most people do not, which is why I'm creating my own philosophical framework called The Levels, because I think a majority of the world are not engaging in deep philosophical thought. Most people. Because this conversation should be had in the most nuance and care about preventative, like preventing harm, but you can't even have it because God forbid we call out your favorite, period. Okay? Now, there is a difference, again, okay, between a centrist who's having so first you have to also categorize people correctly. Is this a centrist having an opinion or more of a progressive? Are the black community, the people in the black community right now who are coming after Hasan, okay, and he yells at them, are they just random black conservatives, MAGA people, right? Or are they like progressive black women often who are like, hey, that's racist. I'm really hurt by your words. I don't feel represented. And Hasan goes, rah, 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 rah. You know, he gets mad at them instead of thinking like, hold up, let me deconstruct. Now, I've gone from Republican to liberal to progressive. So I know in my own head how I felt as a liberal. Okay. And I know the difference between what I thought about black communities and black liberation, and even when I was a conservative. And let me tell you, right? When we're having these conversations, you have to have the evidence of your own life of, oh yeah, this is how I used to think about this. And this is how I think about it now. I used to know what it was like processing minority communities as a Republican, as a minority community, processing it as a liberal, and processing it as a progressive, and then a progressive plus, right? I argue that this community aims to be progressive plus. Okay, so check this out. Okay, these are TikTokers talking about Hasan. Okay.
Racist shouldn't surprise anyone. Hasan being racist shouldn't surprise anyone. Just look at the rhetoric that all of his followers push about the black community. This shit is not a coincidence. Come on, guys.
Take. Can you shut the fuck up when it comes to black folks? You really don't want to talk about us unless it comes from voting. When is the last time you spoke about Sudan? I'm gonna fucking ether you. Any other black folk want to engage in radical activist language?
He went on a more of a tirade than that. That's just a snippet of it. But it shouldn't surprise you. The whole Hasan Abi fan base, they're racist and anti-black. They want to use the black community just like the Democratic Party uses the black community, so fuck them. And anyone else that supports him or supports any sort of rhetoric that he pushes. I know that a lot of you are waking up to what a bad guy he is because he's shocking his dog, but the writing's been on the wall for years. You guys forget that Hasan is just another white man at the end of the day. I thought the mass majority of people would have been done with Hasan once he tried to sink the Democratic Party when they invited him to the DNC, which was an idiotic idea on their part to begin with. You guys need to stop taking political notes from someone that's cruel to animals, was old friends with a pedophile.
Okay, so this is, I'm assuming this content creator is more of a Democrat than a progressive. But the criticism is interesting, okay? Like, when I hear this criticism, I go, okay, I'm processing this information. He thinks Hasan is too extreme. He's going after Hasan for all the wrong reasons, in my opinion, right? So again, when we talked about Hasan possibly shocking Kaya, we came from a vegan perspective because it was philosophically most interesting, right? So from a vegan perspective, eating meat means you're cruel to animals. It's just like eating animals is kind of, it's like, it's like raising money for Israel to commit a genocide. Okay? Just like as an analogy, okay? So for vegans, they're like, you're raising money for Israel. You know what I mean? And the people are like, no, I'm not raising money. I'm just like supporting this industry because I get something in return. It's like, yeah, but you're supporting down the line. You're not committing the genocide. You're not killing the animal personally, but you're funding it. You're engaging in it. You're benefiting from the aftermath, right? And we understand there's the other step of like, we have no choice. We pay taxes and America decides what crazy thing it's going to do to the world, right? And so it does that thing. So then we're all complicit. So first and foremost, we're all complicit, right? We're all complicit. Chess is eating animals is like the IDF one on earth. Okay, I'm going to block you if you're not going to be smart enough for this class, okay? This is an advanced class, girls. This isn't middle school philosophy, okay? This is an advanced class. So I probably should have said that at the beginning. This is an advanced class, okay? This is a serious class, adults only, okay? Okay, when we have conversations about this, we have to think about where a person is coming from, how they're having the conversation, and then how we're approaching it. Example, if a friend comes to you and says they're a PDF file, you're going to have a different reaction than a therapist, right? Because a therapist is a trained professional who's meant to take on clients who are struggling, and they will have a different reaction. Yes? Okay. The question is, in which way are you tackling these problems? Are you playing parent, child, peer, elder in the community? you know, wise elder in the community? Are you playing therapist? When you approach a topic, which way are we approaching this topic? Okay. That's the question. Okay. Next video, let me show you. Okay.
I'm starting to realize when a black person says they're black in his chat and then continues to critique him, he takes it really offensively instead of taking a step back and thinking about the effect his words have on people. I think Hasan is starting to normalize seeing especially black women's opinions as lived up, when most of the time they're just trying to help him be open-minded. But I started to realize how misogynistic he was when I told him in his chat, hey, you actually said that you agreed with Johnny Depp and disagreed with Amber Heard back in the day during the peak of the Amber Heard case. And he was like, no, I didn't defend either of them. I actually didn't take either of their sides, which is still not the right answer. Amber Heard was a victim. And taking sides in the case of abuse is either supporting the victim or supporting an abuser, and there's not really an in-between with that. So I'll probably honestly watch him for his news coverage, but I'm just tired of men, especially straight cis white men, being the leaders of the leftist movement when there's plenty of smarter and more well-read people. And I'm also tired of seeing leftists discount the importance of protecting indigenous spiritual practices.
Okay, so obviously I am not looking for perfection. Okay, you know this. I think people are flawed. I think we're animals on a planet. I think we're evolved over time. I think we are, oh my God, what? Chet says, Gianmarco asked Hasan during the Merrill debate stream if he goes to therapy, and he said he's never been. Checks out. So Destiny goes to therapy to weaponize the language. Hasan never goes to therapy, allegedly. Okay. And I'm telling you right now, like, that is so funny to me because it obviously makes sense. Now, obviously, not all therapy is good therapy. Not all therapy is going to help you, right? I needed DBT. Talk therapy didn't do anything for me. Everybody, but also I had a desire to be introspective, extrospective. Guys, I am so stimulated by the idea of finding out what's true about humanity and preventing harm. But how do you prevent harm? You have to be honest about the fact that we're flawed. So obviously it's annoying when Destiny, Asmin, XQC, all these people have the audacity to go after Hasan, because like, who are you to go after Hasan? Hasan is worlds above better than you. But at the same time, there are people who are more well-read or more introspective than Hasan, who obviously deserve to have their voices heard, who are not having their voices heard. Now listen, being a minority isn't enough. Being black, gay, queer, whatever, it's not enough. You also have to introspect, because we know in our communities that we come from really impacted by colonization, white supremacy, patriarchal religions, homophobia, transphobia, right? We know that the world is suffering from so many things. I have so many topics I want to talk to you about that will help make this make sense to you. But like, there are so many wounded people, specifically in the black community. I've noticed there's a viral conversation happening I want to talk about where these black women are saying they will never let a man host a sleepover for girls or for daughters or for kids. And I'm saying it depends on the man. And if we can get to a place where we get to the point where it depends on the man, we can talk about deconstructing our trauma. But I don't blame these women, okay, who have all of these generational trauma cycles that they have to break. I don't blame people in my own family, right? My mom didn't let me sleep over until I was in high school. It was very strict, right? I think I was like 13, 14. I could do it at cousins' houses, but I couldn't do it at friends' house. It was a very big deal. I have a whole story about this. I'll talk about it later. But I understand their perspective, their fear and their trauma around men. I also understand that the men who want to host these parties can't be trusted, but there is a man on this planet that can be trusted. Because otherwise, why are we making babies with men? If you're making babies with men. Either all men are born horrible, or there's something we can do about it. And I strongly believe there's something we can do about it. If we deconstruct, if we actually work on it. Now, I'm not saying it will do it in this lifetime. I'm saying eventually. Okay? I don't want to live in a reality where I think babies, children, are set for life. They have no choice. They're either born evil or they're not. I don't believe in that. Okay? I don't believe in that. So the question is, how do we make the world a better place? How do we learn to trust people? How do we learn to make things appropriate for people? Okay? So that's the question. Now, I'm not saying you should ever take the risk with your children. I'm saying if you're this afraid, then we better look at our families, our friends, and our favorite streamers a little differently. If you believe men aren't safe enough to host sleepovers, then why the fuck are we not looking left and right at the men in our lives? And I agree with you. I wouldn't trust a majority of the men in my life to host a sleepover. So what are we going to do about it, girls? Because the way women especially come out to defend Hasan in a world where I don't even know if they'd let men host a sleepover, what are we talking about? Now, I just don't want us to end up there permanently. I don't want us to say, I guess men suck. I want to say, hold up. How do I prevent this in the future? How do I make this better? How do I break this generational curse in my family? Okay, that's what I'm saying. Now, check this out. This is Hasan watching Jubilee. And this is why I say I do philosophy and Hasan does politics. Why don't I do politics anymore? It's deeply unethical. It's deeply immoral. And I think you always become philosophically evil when you do politics. I think true philosophical joy is found outside of politics. And this is exactly what I'm talking about.
Knowing exactly what's going to happen in the future, it makes all of those events inevitable, which means that they're all causally determined, which means that we have no free will. If you believe in an all-good God or an all-knowing God.
I hate to be a philosophy PhD guy in the chat, but both of these dudes suck, lol. I hate this entire process. But I do like that they pissed off Jordan Peterson. That's what I like, making me rip my hair out. I like that they frustrated Peterson and made him look and feel small. But yes, this is why I used to constantly philosophy majors and also Reddit atheists in general.
God that made everything.
Well, have it your way.
Okay, cool. So then the free will theodicy fails.
Well, it fails for you. That doesn't mean you've disproved it. I mean,
you
tried to make
the argument.
Yes, you tried to make a case.
Hold on, I'm gonna skip it so I don't get copyrighted by Jubilee.
Or he meant that the free will
relevant to.
So
someone is an atheist. Why do they spend all their time researching religion to debate it? It feels like a snark page for God, basically. I love that. Yes. I am of the mind that very few people in the process of these sorts of debates actually move away from their religious framework. I think it's like especially unsuccessful. What's the saying? You can't logic. You can't use logic to untangle someone's position if they didn't arrive at that position through logical thinking. And Reddit atheist debates are basically trying to disprove that point. Okay. Like you're literally talking to a person that did not arrive at this position by thinking through it logically. In almost every single one of these circumstances.
Okay, so let me just show you.
So it's
first, this is Hasanabi Productions. Okay, so this is, I think, a fan channel. That's cool with Hasan. They're not trying to clip him out of context or something. 2, Hasan doesn't like philosophy. He likes politics. And no, chatter, politics isn't everything. Philosophy is everything. You exist outside of politics, but politics has convinced you that it's everywhere and it's everything. Because that's how insidious it is. And that's why none of us will be free, because we think our liberation is through a system that is literally created to oppress us. Okay? Hasan doesn't like philosophy. Hasan is not stimulated by philosophy in the same way that when I watch Ezra Klein talk, I want to die. Because I am not stimulated by politics. I used to be. But now politics just looks like a big fat joke to me. Okay? Politics just looks like just the silliest, obviously this is going nowhere thing. Okay? So obviously, I think you exist outside of politics, right? Now, I'm not saying Hasan is bad. I'm saying this is who Hasan is, and we should judge him accordingly. Just like when you watch XQC or Aiden Ross, you have to judge them accordingly, right? That's why they should not be opening their mouth about ethics and morals when they're some of the most deplorable people on the internet. What is Asmongold and Tectone opening their mouths for, right? Why is Destiny, why are any of these boys having the audacity to open their fucking mouths when it comes to anything in relation to ethics or morals, when they are the most deplorable people in the world? What did Destiny say to me? And what does his community say to me when I called him out for his bad parenting and his cheating? Why are you making this personal? I'm like, what are you talking about personal? What does it matter what he does in his private life as long as what he's saying is correct? Everything? See, a lot of people believe as long as you're saying the right thing, it doesn't matter what you do in your personal life. No offense. I do not need advice on healthy relationships from a serial killer. Do you know what I'm saying, girls? I do not need relationship advice from a serial predator. Thank you. There is like this audacity of men in the world raised up, because this is how they've always been raised up through patriarchy, to believe they are entitled to give advice if it's correct technically, even if they're not following it themselves. And no. This was the Bill Clinton argument. Well, he might have cheated on his wife and took advantage of an intern, but he was a good president. You sure about that? Are you sure about that? So again, I want to talk about ethics and morals. Okay, which is why we're going to talk about Hank Green. And I know you're saying, Hank Green, what does this have to do with anything? Oh, you just hold your breath, girl. I'll get into it in a second, okay? Okay, right? Chet says Destiny doesn't give advice on parenting, though. You're wrong. In many of the interviews, Destiny has not only given advice on parenting, but has used the fact that he's a, quote, single father, which he absolutely is not, as a way to push his narratives. I have seen interview after interview years ago when I was still in the sphere of him on Valuetainment, putting the fact that he's a dad up there in the conversation as a way to like show that he's legit. Do not come for me when this is my job and I'm my special interest, okay? So again, with peace and love, okay, he loves to talk about how he's a single father, okay? Now, Cavernacle made a video, great video, came out yesterday. We need to talk about leftists defending a Democrat with a fascist tattoo. This is exactly the problem. Okay, I like, so far, Cavernacle's opinions. I am very aligned with a lot of Cavernacle stuff. I can't speak for him personally. I can't speak for him fully. I don't know. I'm not about to put my reputation on a line for a man. But okay, at the end of the day, I find his content way superior to the most popular streamers. Hasan has nothing to Cavernacle. And not to make that like, I don't know. I think Hasan has rose to fame because he's not deeply thinking about much. And I mean that with the most respect to everybody in the world. You are not deeply thinking about anything you're talking about. And I know this because this has always been the case for all of history. Deeper thinkers do not become famous. They do not become popular. They do not rise to fame because people don't want to feel stupid when listening to you. So if people watch you, and this is feedback, and I'm not even trying to toot my own horn because I feel like a fucking idiot. But when people come into my chat and say, Britt, I don't understand your vocabulary. You're using words I don't understand. You literally are talking about things I can't keep up with. I would have collabs with men on the internet and they could not keep up with me. But instead of realizing they couldn't keep up, they just painted me as a crazy person because they were literally uneducated. And I'm like, what is happening? If American voters have the average reading level of a 7th grader, what are we talking about? So obviously, we have to contend with the reality that we are dealing with an adult population that in many ways needs to sort of be treated with kid gloves. And that's really painful. It is so painful. You know how many of my friends, how many of my family members, I'm like, how are you? How's life? They're like, good. I'm like, what have you been doing? What have you realized about yourself? What's new things you've learned about yourself? And they're like, what? And I'm like, what have you learned about yourself recently? And they're like, what? I'm just working. And I'm like, yeah, but what are you thinking? Like, what have you learned? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I just recently discovered I'm autistic. I got diagnosed and, I'm like on a gender deconstruction journey. What are you doing? And they're like, I don't know. I'm just working. And I'm like, okay, so like, we don't know, like did you learn anything about yourself? You had this big thing happen a couple of years ago. What did you learn from it? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's fine. I'm used to that. I'm used to that my whole life. I'm used to it. I have MAGA parents. I'm very used to it. I'm saying this is how I feel when I watch most of these people. Now, if you recall, and I don't mean to speak ill of anybody, but I fell off Hasan. I stayed there for a second, but I fell off when he made that misogynistic rape joke. about the girls at the college getting raped by conservatives. Better their women than our women. You remember that joke? I didn't like that joke. And Ryan Beard is the person who put me onto that joke. Now, Ryan Beard, again, I have issues with Ryan because they cannot seem to stop fighting. Like they talk to Ethan. The fact that you even talked to Ethan recently, I was like, stop talking to these people. Stop talking to these people. You know what I mean? Stop talking to these people. But I can't help. I see it all the time where I'm like, why do these people keep talking to each other? And a big part of it is they can't help it. Now, Anthony was going to make the attempt to go on Ethan's show only if he dropped the lawsuits against the girls, which I will accept only that reason. But if Anthony had talked to Ethan, I would have lost respect for him. Now, I need to say this. I hold the right to lose respect for anybody. I am not obligated to have respect for you. And I still believe, even if I don't have respect for you, you deserve to be housed and clothed and fed and taken care of. And nobody should hurt you. Okay? So had Anthony collabed with Ethan, without that, just for fun, I would have unsubscribed. Okay? So that's what I'm saying. Chet says Hasan is a much more well-read than you are when it comes to history and material analysis. It sounds ridiculous to say that he's not a deeper thinker when it comes from you. You are allowed to have that opinion, and I'm allowed to have my opinion. But if I go to Hasan's stream and I say, where's the deeper analysis? Where's the intersectionality? And I'm not seeing it, that's what my complaint is. Where is the actual intersectionality? Where is the literal analysis? That is what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, you cannot have this many black and brown people upset with you and tell me you're being intersectional enough. Something is going wrong. There's just a pattern here. So here's Cavernacle explaining it. Hasan lacks intersectionality in a way that is obvious to me, okay?
Was bad. He's not.
So this is halfway through the video, almost the full video. This is about hold on, I forgot his name already. Graham Planter. He had a Nazi tattoo that he got on his chest, and he says no one ever told him it was a Nazi tattoo. But Cavernacle's like, no. Like, no. Like, Cavernacle's like, you can't not know. Now, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you can't run for senator if you don't know. And that's the thing. It's like, you've only been a good person for 3 years. You need to go get a job before you come do this. And I agree with Cavernacle in that way. You are being way too forgiving and way too lax on people being in charge of you who are in this position, okay?
Leftist you can trust. But now let's get on to the American leftist reaction to all of this. Graham is just a regular guy and the establishment hates that. Seriously, regular people get Nazi tattoos and are career mercenaries and soldiers in the war on terror. Is that a normal person? And disappointingly, Emma from the Majority Report has just been posting like, I don't even know.
Emma, get a job and stop supporting men. She's like supporting the patriarchy without even understanding it. And this is why I hate politics. Because you're so busy thinking about winning, and I love the Majority Report. You're so busy thinking about winning, you're not thinking about ethics and morals. You're not thinking about okay, so then the question is, as progressives and outside of political progressiveness, let me explain this really fast, okay? Because again, this is what people have to understand, and this is what you're not understanding. We exist outside of politics. So I said on my podcast recently, which was doing very well, thank you, that if you are a Republican, okay, let's go centrist here and progressive. If you are a Republican or a conservative, you are more likely to engage in abuse and validate it. It's not to say progressives can't be predators. It's to say that if you actually are a progressive, generally, even outside of politics, you are progressing forward, you've most likely deconstructed and are less likely to act badly. But if you do not embody the why, you will be a predator. So Destiny is a guy who's a progressive or a liberal and is a predator, but he's not a predator because he's a liberal. He's a predator because he's not actually upholding liberal and progressive values, except in capitalism, which is liberal. Capitalism is a liberal value, which we'll get into in a second, okay? So the dilemma here is Republicans, it is ingrained in their value system to actually support predatory behavior via the patriarchy or via this idea, which is what the misogyny in Destiny's community perpetuates. It's why Ethan goes to Taylor Lorenz, Hasan's never gonna fuck you. That's why the insult I get from the anti-Hasan people is he's never gonna fuck you. They even say it to lesbians, he's never gonna fuck you. And it's like, That's the misogyny. If you at any point made he's not gonna fuck you jokes, that's misogyny. That's sexism. That is this idea that as a woman or as a fuckable or as a person who might fuck this sex or gender, you are only this thing. And if you don't understand that, if you can't sit back and be like, fuck, you're right, I shouldn't have made that joke, I'm fucked up, I will never make that joke again. I will learn from this because you're right. There's no way to make that joke as a person at work, at a job with status. You know, this isn't your living room, homie. This is the internet. You are not in your living room right now. You are online at job, at work, and you made that joke. Okay, you just wait. This week's podcast is going to be exactly about this. Exactly about this. Okay? So again, when we have these conversations, okay, you got to think about it from that perspective. We hold the right to not be a fan of this person. Okay, but if you're going to criticize someone, make sure you know why you're criticizing them and from which lens. All of my criticism is coming from a deconstructed philosophical lens, a political or philosophical lens in relation to intersectionality and or queerness. Okay? That is the lens in which I am judging you. And of course, separate from that, my own personal, just like Brittany beliefs. Okay? Okay. So it's not to say progressives or centrists can't be predators, but it's to say that technically, if you are embodying conservative belief systems, you're more likely to be one because of what it entails to even be conservative. All these Republicans who keep getting caught with Nazi group chats, and everyone's like, okay, guys, there is something very Nazi-like about America, the world, the military, conservatives. And so for you to put a blind eye to a Democrat with a possible Nazi tattoo is to say that you have no one better to put up, which is the problem. Which is why progressives don't like Democrats. We don't like them. They only want to win. They don't care what's true, right? Chad says, I disagree that we exist outside of politics because we all live within the material world and politics is merely how we decide to distribute resources. People don't exist in a vacuum. Okay. So once again, if you're new to my channel, which I assume you are, okay, politics exists in this bubble. The world is this. Politics is one bubble in a world that is vastly diverse. The fact and the idea that we have allowed the minority, okay, like it's the same thing with the 1%. If the world was so good and the 1% was just evil, then why is the 1% so good at being in charge of us? It's either all of us or none of us or some of us. As long as we all participate in a belief that we exist within systems that came after our evolutionary ability to even process our own consciousness, you are subjecting yourself to a limited belief system. First came people, okay? Then came consciousness, then came politics. You exist outside of politics. Now, philosophically speaking, you exist outside of politics, right? So this is different than saying that you physically don't exist within politics. I physically exist. My body is put in a position to exist within politics. My consciousness, okay, the me that is me, that exists within and outside of the confines of political structures. The I, it exists outside of politics. My body, the perception of my body, your interaction with this person, if you only see me through politics, you only see me through politics. Okay, let's watch this video.
How these people are justifying it in their head. So someone called Ari Drennan, who is just like posting terrible takes 24/7, spoke about a tattoo. Don't really care for her, but that's what she posted. And Emma saying, Fetterman openly courted Israel lobby money. Plattner is a working class veteran who has only taken small dollar contributions. The rest of his history demonstrates consistent left-wing and humanist principles, even in the Reddit post, outside the ones he has apologized for. So I want to talk about this tweet because I think it shows how even American leftists cannot unpick the brainwashing they have around imperialism, right? So to Emma and loads of these leftists, the rest of his history has demonstrated consistent left-wing and humanist principles. The rest of his history, even if we're being honest, it's only since 2018, like after he was a mercenary for Blackwater in Afghanistan, right? But his whole history, he hasn't been left-wing. Even if he politically thought of himself as some sort of leftist for his whole time, his whole history is bad. His impact on the world has been terrible. As an individual, you can't even get much worse. And also, if he was an IDF veteran who had fought in like Gaza in 2014 and like Lebanon in 2006, and then he had like a massive Nazi tattoo, would anyone be giving this guy the time of day? Absolutely not. They wouldn't. So why are you giving him the time of day now and defending his Nazi tattoo after he's done all this terrible shit? I think people can change, absolutely. I don't think everyone has to be in a position of power. I don't think every career war criminal with Nazi tattoos has to become a senator. And I don't think that is the best people can get, and that is the best people can offer. There's plenty of veterans, if you want to play this game of leftist veteran, there are plenty of leftist veterans who didn't have a terrible service record like this, where they even go back to do it again under Donald Trump and then have Nazi tattoos. I'm sorry, it's just like...
Exactly. So they're saying, oh, his history, look how good it is. This history, this stuff, this is what I'm saying. We have the right to not like somebody. I have the right to say it's not good enough for me. Now, progressives like Havernackle and like myself, I don't mean to speak for him, we tend to want the right thing the first time around. By the way, as a liberal and even as a conservative, I was willing to not want the right thing the first time around. When I was a conservative and I was a closeted queer gay person, okay, I was the kind of conservative that would say, I just want you to leave gay people alone, but we don't need marriage. I was always willing to ask for less just to get a little bit. When I was a liberal, I would say we have to get along with people, even people that are extreme, because we have to make the world work. I was always willing to cut myself short. Now, with the way that I am now, no more. We're going to do the right thing, even if nobody else is doing it. And this is what I'm saying where Hasan fails, where a lot of men on the internet fail. A lot of men on the internet and politics especially are more than happy to compromise with evil. And I'm saying I am done compromising with philosophical evil. And I'm saying I know that it's been a journey and it's a journey for all of us. I know it's not easy. I'm saying it is very hard not to feel like a need to compromise with evil. Okay? Because we're still going to do it in some aspects of our life because it's a transition out of it. It's very hard. Okay? Like it's very, very hard. Okay? Wait, Discord said I have a hard time believing bro didn't know what it meant, didn't even consider it. You're in Europe. Bro, the fact that you mean the tattoo, right? From Graham. I would just say that any person in the military right now, if you were thinking about getting a tattoo, wait. Because a lot of cops, a lot of military people, you guys know that police officers were the KKK. It rose up because of white supremacy. Like, you have to be very careful about these institutions' histories and understand that thing you think is brotherhood is actually just bullshit. Okay? So I need somebody who understands that, who understands the legacy. Now, I understand Hasan. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm going to show it to you. Let me take you there. Hold on. Hold on. Here it is. Let me go here. This is important. So look at the way Hasan defends and explains it to his audience. But then I want to explain it to my audience in a different way. Okay. I skipped the video.
Numbers for these things. Do I think he should be the leader of anything? A senator for Maine? Potentially like a presidential candidate one day? No fucking way do I think that. But let's go to one more. Let's just go to this clip of Hasan, who has also been defending him after calling him the GOAT. Again, I don't understand leftist obsession with racist mercenaries, but let's get into this.
But in any case, regardless of what people in this community say, I think it is positive that while there is an establishment Democrat pro-APAC liberal alternative out there that Chuck Schumer and the establishment Democrats love, liberals by and large are still standing by a dude with a horrifying background, okay? Especially as it pertains to the fucking Totenkopf tattoo. Do you understand? One must ask the question, why? Two things come to mind. Number one, liberals don't want to play the game of like, this person is imperfect and they said something fucked up, no matter how fucked up that might be from my assessment. Because I think having a fucking Totenkopf tattoo on your chest is completely insane. It is irredeemable, especially if you did not cover it up for 20 fucking years, okay? Having said that, I do think it's good that by and large, liberals are defending him instead of immediately leaning into the alternative. Liberals did not immediately look at someone like Graham Plattner and go, I fucking hate this guy. This guy is saying he wants Medicare for all. We can't have Medicare for all in this country. What are you talking about? We need to keep having privatized healthcare in this country. That's the best possible way to go. Like that. But killing Iraqis isn't. We are talking about the average fucking person, the average American. They do not think of this in the way that you do. Oh my God. Terminally online chirpers that run around. Dude, go to a local coffee shop or go to, I don't know, a restaurant and try to hear what the average person's opinion is on someone who has done 4 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, a Marine Corps guy. They do not think that he is a baby killer, okay? In terms of broader consciousness, you have to look at where people are at, where the mean is, where the average person is, and what their political opinions look like. Yeah, go to a restaurant where there's a veterans discount. Go to a restaurant where they're offering a veterans discount and be like, why are you giving baby killers, genocidaires of Iraq, a discount? How dare you?
Again, even Hasan talking about the average American, like loving people who fought in Iraq and shit like that. Yeah, the average white conservative American might actually like that. But Graham Plattner is not just appealing to white working class Americans. So even him framing it as like, oh, liberals not trying to cancel him this time. Hasan has constantly praised this guy, even knowing his history in the past of working for Blackwater and working for the US military. And we can't build like this coalition throughout different groups of people if we start trying to pretend like people who made their whole livelihood on killing Arabs and Central Asians in illegal wars has a Nazi tattoo, like champion someone like that. How's anyone meant to trust you? I mean, I don't trust people like that as a socialist. Like, I would never vote for someone like that. I would never downplay his record. And even before the Nazi tattoo, I would have said that 100%. I do not trust someone like this, especially when you take into account the length of his service and his mercenary work. I wouldn't. But then this tattoo just confirms to me he's a fucking idiot and a poor judge of character. So even if you're thinking about it like that, and you claim to not care about anything else, you have to think about even that, and also how easy he's going to be attacked, and obviously how bad it looks for the left as well. You're trying to promote this guy as the anti-Israel candidate who has the Nazi tattoo. So even purely optics, and I know these American leftist streamers and YouTubers love their optics. What are the optics of that? What are the optics of that? They're going to use that forever. And although they use attacks like Hamas Piker and all this shit, what if Hasan actually had a Nazi tattoo, right? That is literally what we're looking at there. And you're saying, well, that's good for the left? People say Hasan isn't a good representative for the left because of things to do with like his class and stuff, right? What if he had a Nazi tattoo? What if he was in Blackwater? What if he had like a career doing Iraq and Afghanistan and shit like that, right? Would anyone say we should prop up this guy? No. So I don't understand why people are dying on the hill very much promote this guy. And also this election is a primary. Run someone.
So he is in this video talking specifically to progressives. Now look, Chad said, even if you don't intend to make something political, it is anyways, right? You said, I'm really trying to understand this, but I'm a little confused. Yes, human consciousness exists outside of politics, maybe when you're first born, but they quickly become integrated, don't they? Okay. This is a philosophy channel, okay? The world, you are born into the universe, okay? And you are dealing with other people who come into contact with you. Just because other people say you are something doesn't mean you are. Just because other people enslave you doesn't mean you're a slave. Like, philosophically speaking, literally speaking, right? People are taking away your agency, but you are more important than the way your oppressors view you. You are so much more than the way the system oppresses you, right? Like, you are so much more. And the world is telling you every day that you are not. And I just want you to go home and look at yourself in the mirror, or touch your own body, or hear your own voice, right? In case, you literally can't see. I'm trying to be inclusive here, girls. And I want you to understand that you exist first and foremost, and then the world exists. You, and then you exist. Chet says, no, that's not what I mean. It is what you mean. I do this for a living. I've heard this question asked 1,000 fucking times. Listen to me when I say this. I know exactly what you mean. I've answered this question 1,000 times in my career. I've gotten it 1,000 times, girls. So unless you are for the first time, okay? Yeah, exactly. You said, I agree. We are not political, but our actions, no matter what, are seen as political. I know, Habibi. I've answered this question 1,000 times. Listen to me when I say this. By you saying this to me, you are then not agreeing to the first point. Yes, your actions by some will be seen as political, not by all. Not by all, but by some. And first and foremost, we have to understand that most of the world doesn't even process it through a political lens. Like Hasan was just saying there, funny enough, right? Like Hasan just said, like, ask an average American about giving an employee discount to the military. Most people think that's a good idea because they're not just viewing you in their mind through a political lens. They're viewing you as a hero, which is, yes, political, but that's not what that's not what their brain is processing as information. But it's how you probably see it because you know. But I'm saying when we look at each other, first and foremost, we must see them, and then we must see ourselves, and then we must understand this relationship. So when I talk on stream, I try to talk to my audience because I know that if I, when I came out, when I was in the debate, bro, a bubble with Destiny and all those losers, when I was there, I kept trying to talk to them. And I realized after a while, like, man, I can't really talk to these people. Like, I'm never going to speak the language in which they will hear me because, one, I'm still a woman and they don't respect that. They don't respect the fact that I'm open with my diagnoses. They see it as a crutch. They would never be open with theirs except to say it's not a big deal. Chad says, I think that's how I needed to hear it said to understand what you meant. Good. I'm glad. Okay. On the same page now. So when we see other people and why they're doing what they're doing, I try to zoom out as far as I can and then zoom back in, go out and come back in. So when I see the world and I see how it's suffering, I see it as like a big, like a domino that no matter how far I go back, I can't see where the domino started. But even when I try, it makes me want to blow my brain out because like I'm just like overwhelmed with like how many dominoes there are. Like nothing exists in a vacuum. And yet you get to think of yourself that way for your own mental health, but not as you play as a neighbor, not like just when you're alone in your apartment. Okay. Just when you're alone in your apartment, please know that you get to exist outside of the world's judgment of you. And then when you come out of I'm using the apartment as like an idea of a bubble, a private bubble. And then when you come into the world, know that the world is treating you based off their own biases and prejudice. Yes. Right. But this channel and the way that I've done my work the last 5 or 6 years has been because I had to learn to see myself outside of how other people saw me. My whole life was brought into question only in relation to how others saw me. And then once I started to ask myself, but how do I see myself and what's my relationship with self? Not only did my mental health improve, not only did my philosophical relationship improve, not only did everything in my life improve, but I began to radically accept that not only will I live and die, but the whole world, this is just a blip in history. Okay? Like this is just a moment in time. We are just a moment in time. And in 1,000 years will be somebody else's history. You know, I live in Europe now. And when I go around and look at these buildings and I look at these Roman roads and I look at all of these things, I just think to myself, like, this was somebody's life. Like if I could flick, snap my fingers and be transported back 1,000 years just to see what the world looked like then, they'd be just like us, but in their own world, right? They'd have the same opinions and same lives and same ideas. And we're not new. Nothing I say is new, but we have a different relationship with it because we can, because of everything that's here, right? And so I want to give you an opportunity to learn to radically accept so you can do right by people no matter what. Being a good person is very, very hard, right? It's very, very, very difficult, So I'm not trying to hold Hasan to some crazy standard, but I'm certainly laughing at the idea that a lot of the internet doesn't understand that if you get trapped in the Hasan bubble, you will also not progress. I'm just warning you the same way I should have warned myself when I was in the debate bro bubble. I'm really talking to myself. Hey, Britt, these boys are never going to change. Don't try. And what's worse is the girls that are with them won't change either. Right? I'll show you an example. Okay, here's Cutie Cinderella. Cutie Cinderella got a sponsorship to talk about Taylor Swift's new album. How do I feel about Taylor Swift? Boo, she's a billionaire. Boo, I think she is dog whistling for white supremacists, my opinion. Okay, look at this video that I saw.
The fate of Ophelia is the compilation of all of them because they're all different showgirls.
Says the creative director.
Taylor, please interview or please hire me. That's what I hope and pray.
And then I'm like, wait, who is this? Isn't this Oscar? Isn't this the guy who works for Trisha Paytas? Who I, by the way, was very compassionate towards, very patient with, and people hated me for it. But that is separate. That was therapist Brittany, like friend Brittany, like thoughtful Brittany, like elder Brittany, being very compassionate to Trisha. But this you're talking to philosophy, intersectionality Brittany. Trisha Paytas has done the most evil shit to become famous and rich and gain status. Trisha Paytas is a bad person. Trisha Paytas is a person who's also been mentally getting better. They have done a lot of work to become a more stable person, but they have used every weapon through capitalism to take advantage and come at the expense of minorities in order to gain status, in order to be famous. Here's Oscar with apparently, is that the real Taylor Swift? Is he literally meeting the Taylor Swift? And then this is the person who works for Trisha, right? And this is like Cutie Cinderella wishing she could be with Taylor Swift October. So I stopped watching Fear and because at first Austin and Cutie were kind of fun, but now I'm just annoyed at how much they simp for these billionaires. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's the thing, right? I'm annoyed. And that's my prerogative. I am allowed to look at people on the internet and be like, this is not what I'm intellectually looking for. Okay? And that's the thing. Chad says, didn't Trisha used to mock trans people? I mean, Trisha is trans, right? Like, yes, Trisha suffered from internalized transphobia. Trisha suffered from pick-me syndrome. Like, Trisha suffered from a lot. Trisha got better, which I love to see, but Trisha also stopped, right? Like, again, We want to get better. We don't want to stop. Okay? We don't want to stop. We want to keep moving forward. All I'm saying is all of us could become conservative one day if we stop learning and we stop deconstructing. And I don't mean conservative politically, though that's one way to think about it. Outside of politics, a conservative person conserves a tradition. They don't progress. So outside of politics, philosophically speaking, in terms of your personal growth, we want to progress forward. Okay, don't think politics, just think literal. We want to progress forward. If we get stationary, if we stay stationary and we don't progress, we will become naturally conservative, which is what we're trying to avoid, right? Okay, Chess says, can I ask this about Hasan? What do you think that he's problematic because he doesn't take accountability? As well as somebody who got their degree in political science, I want it to be my life to interact. I don't know exactly what you're saying, but I think again, if you're new to my channel, and I assume some of you are, I am not your average YouTuber. Do not consider me anything like any of the YouTubers you watch, because I really think it's very rare for anyone to be doing what I'm doing, because I used to do what they did and then I stopped and I'm doing what I'm doing now. I am not coming from the perspective of some zoomed in lens. I am saying to you, I am interested in preventative care and things that are true. I am interested in the fact that we are biological creatures on a planet, and I am interested to see how we can harm reduce and be realistic about how humans are without condoning evil behavior, evil philosophically, right? I believe Hitler had good intentions, and that's how dangerous good intentions can be. I want you to understand that I believe humans, good intentions is the road to hell. That the road to hell is paved in good intentions. And if somebody like Hitler gets to have good intentions, then what does it mean when I have good intentions? Right? This is the Jordan Peterson fear. Oh no, I don't want to be Hitler, but I also kind of like the Nazi uniform. Have you seen my suits lately? Oh gosh, Ethan, I don't really like this Hitler guy, but I'm so afraid of becoming a Nazi. You know? It's like, I understand the fear of being evil, so you become evil. So I say do nothing in fear. Fear is the root of all evil. Peterson became the paranoid person he is because he let his fear control his narrative. Stop being afraid so you can get some shit done. Have the humility to make wise decisions and know that you probably will die an unwise person. I think I will, right? We have to learn to discern, okay? So that's what I'm trying to say. So look at this, okay? Make this make sense, okay? So first, check this out, okay?
Celebrity speaking in fascist dog whistles? Is your favorite celebrity speaking in fascist dog whistles? I don't think so. But I will say that the paranoia, the fatigue, the exhaustion on the side of people who are worried about things like fascist dog whistles, it's getting to a point where the conversation is entirely circular, because for every 5 credible sources saying that something is unlikely to be a dog whistle, there's one tinfoil hat saying, that's why it's a good dog whistle. So it kind of never ends.
So let's talk about dog whistles and why people are mad at Hank Green, because Hank honestly needs to pick a fucking lane. And I say this as I'm happy to say, like, I watch Hank. I don't watch every video, but he is starting to make me be like, Hank, pick a fucking lane and stay there. Because he's pulling a little bit of a Jordan Peterson in this way where I'm like, you need to stick to your lane, homie. Okay? Which is why I try really hard to stick to my lane. But Hank is opening his mouth where it doesn't belong. But this is the difference, okay? Pay attention to this video.
Does not need me. Miss Taylor Swift does not need me to come to her defense. I think she's fine. But I'm making this video, so there must be a reason I'm making it. Fascism is scary. Like, what's going on in America right now is scary. And so it makes sense that we're reacting.
Pause. Why would you open the video like that? Why would he open the video like that? Right? Why would he open the video like that? Taylor Swift doesn't need me to come to her defense. She's fine. Liberal man doesn't want to speak for a woman. So he couches the conversation with, like, she can speak for herself. She's still a billionaire. Why are you even protecting her? Because you think she's just a woman. She's not a woman anymore. Now she's a billionaire. I used to be a liberal that wanted to be rich and famous because I thought that was the best way to be feminist. Okay, I'm not anti-making money, right? I'm not one of those people, but I do think how you make money matters. And I do think if you think the only way to be feminist in the world is to be better than men by being better men, I think you're wrong, right? Because if you think you should be better at patriarchy or better at capitalism, that's not the way to think about it, okay? Taylor Swift is now and always has been really I've never been a fan of Taylor, so maybe that, okay. But the fact that he couches this conversation with, okay, now puts us all on edge. Now we're all on edge because I'm like, why are you coming to her defense? Why are you doing that? Okay, let's listen.
That with fear, and fear makes trust harder. And having less trust makes building alliances harder, makes building coalitions harder. Fascism breaks coalitions, breaks the coalitions that could stand against it, because those coalitions are scared and because those coalitions will gain power over each other by attacking each other. And that feels good. That feels like the only win you can have when you're up against fascism. And that is an instinct that you really have to push against. You have to know that your brain is going to go there, and you have to stop your brain from going there. I was just at the No Kings rally in Missoula here, and I saw people whose first priorities were very different from each other. Posters might have been about reproductive rights or about worker rights or about the housing crisis or about Palestine or about immigration, but they were all there not because they were all leftists. They were all there not because they were all liberals or communists or Marxists. They were like, all of those people were there because all of those people actually have to get along in order to push back against this and win elections, like have a midterm election that goes extraordinarily well so that America...
Okay, so what is this? What have I been telling you? Politics is about winning and philosophy is about truth. So not all philosophy is good philosophy, but real philosophy, the love of wisdom, should be about zooming out and then zooming back in. Hank is in the political bubble. He wants to win. What do I say? Okay, we don't build bridges with fascists. We don't build bridges with Nazis. We don't build bridges with conservatives, politicians. We build them with people, but not at the expense of the community, right? So the dilemma is that he's thinking, okay, my thinking is we should be kind to our neighbors. His thinking is we should make alliances with neighbors who hate us. And I'm like, no. I will be kind to you even if you are not kind to me, right? I will feed you even if you wouldn't feed me. I will advocate for your rights even if you won't advocate for mine. But I will not hold your hand kumbaya and pretend we are on the same side if at the end of all of this, you're still going to stab me in the back. So let's talk about why people do that. And I know because I am currently having one of the biggest, and going pretty well if I might add, generational attempts to break a curse I have ever done in my life with my own family, right? Okay? So that's the thing. Be good to your conservative neighbors, but hold your conservative politicians to account. Love your parents, but put down some boundaries. Not what they do, but what you do, okay? Love people, but understand that, like, Habibi, when this is over, I don't want you to turn around and make it happen again because you didn't learn the lesson. The problem is human beings don't, like, history doesn't repeat itself. We repeat history. It's us. It's us. It's a group project and we're all going to fail. Even if some of us are making the effort, we're going to fail. And I'm sorry. And I don't, I think I'm pretty critical of progressives in this moment because, like Kavernacle, because like all these people, you are falling for the trap and you don't even see it. Habibis, you're too focused. You're too locked into the drama. You are so locked into this drama between Hasan and Destiny and Asmin. You're losing grip on the focus. You are just so desperate. And I'm saying, hey girl, it's giving desperate. You know what I'm saying? Like, get off my back. Okay? And I don't want you to fall for that because I know what it's like to be so swept up in the rat race of like this crazy internet drama. You're like, oh my God, the world is so much bigger than your internet drama. The world is so much bigger than your politics. And if you want to make any attempts to change the world, you got to start with yourself. And if the world was a reflection of you itself, it would not be a good world if you are spending all of your time fighting for Hasan in these comments. If the world is a reflection of us as a whole, then I pray to God none of your day was spent fighting for Hasan in these comments. Okay? It's different if you are also a content creator and this is your living and you're giving analysis. I love that. But if you are my brothers in, Zendaya, listen to me. If you are a 9-to-5 worker and you are making minimum wage and you are spending any of your goddamn free time fighting for this millionaire in these comments, ma'am, okay, let's not revolve our life around this man. Okay, and that's what I feel like is happening. You want to root for somebody so bad, don't you? Right? You want to pedestal this man because you believe, well, maybe if he's rich, maybe if he's famous, maybe he'll do something for me. I'm not saying Hasan is as bad as all the other boys, but he still just is a dude. And so you should be cautious. You should be cautious. You should be cautious, okay, about this man. Because he still is not humble enough, not introspective enough, and just hasn't deconstructed enough of the patriarchy for me to trust it. Okay? Okay, let's finish this video by Hank, because he's falling into the same issue here.
Will know that we're not okay with masked men grabbing people off of the street in plain clothes without having identified themselves first because they were like deigned by the monarch to become his personal army. But if your idea of activism is scrolling until something makes you angry and outraged, and then keeping scrolling until something makes you angry and outraged, you're not doing it. If you think that Taylor Swift is a Nazi now, you are so alienated from society that you will not be able to build coalitions.
If you think Taylor Swift is a Nazi, you are so alienated from society. You mean the same society that propped up Nazis and keeps them going? The same society that can't understand ACAB? The same society that continually promotes the military? The same society that voted for Trump? Listen to me when I say this. I'm not saying Taylor Swift is a Nazi, but I'm saying 3 strikes and you're out, girl. And I've seen 3 strikes from this girly that makes me go, hold up, girl. Hold up with your team, your research team, your people, your position of power. Why am I seeing all of these possible dog whistles? Okay? Why am I seeing all of this weird fucking 2 coincidences? Too many coincidences, okay?
So I am supposed to believe.
So
it's a possible way.
So this is one of the necklaces that's going viral, and it's 2 lightning bolts next to each other. Take down the fucking necklace. If this is Taylor Swift merch and she's put it out and she hasn't done her research, take it down. Okay? Apologize. She hasn't spoken about Palestine. She hasn't spoken out. She's kept her mouth shut about ICE. Okay? She's not speaking. She's collabing with MAGA podcasters. She's done so many things. Okay? Second thing, this is interesting. Obviously, it's a little nuanced, but I'm gonna, oopsies. Listen, so this is her album cover. This is Taylor's album cover. And depending on how you phrase it, you can do it in multiple ways. It makes the Nazi symbol. So this is what people were saying in the comments. They're saying, well, if you do it this way, it comes off like this, where it's not a Nazi symbol. But then some people were like, yes, but if you do it this way, then it is a Nazi symbol. And I'm saying, I don't give a fuck. Somebody needs to do something about this. We're living in too intense of a time for you not to do something about it. Even if you say you're not a Nazi, then do something about it. Okay? I'm saying it's too serious to not do something about it. It's too serious of a time right now. Okay? Just do something about it. Even if it wasn't your intention. And that's the dilemma, okay? And this is what I'm trying to say to you. We hold streamers to more accountability than people in complete positions of power. So I understand that Taylor Swift at the end of the day is a singer, but at the end of the day, we're not obligated to not come away with an opinion about Taylor. We are not obligated to not look at Taylor and be like, no offense, Nazi. It reminds me of a Nazi. It's too close. I don't want to take that risk. Okay? That's it. Chat says, why would you even want to let anybody think this about you? I don't understand people who don't respond to serious accusations. Exactly. It's like, it's too serious for you not to be like, holy fuck, I cannot believe we did not think about this. It was not our intention. We are so fucking stupid. Let me redo stuff. I am so sorry. But she's not. So then the people, hear me out, and I'm going to talk about this later in stream today. The people that are Nazis, that are white supremacists, if Taylor doesn't do anything about it, will see that as a dog whistle that she's on their side. Because that's how human psychology works. I don't like it, you don't like it. But she will literally signal this to them, and they will feel like, yeah, Taylor's on our side, bro. Notice how Trump is saying nice things about Taylor now, but he wasn't saying nice things before? All I'm saying is, and this is the problem, if any of the work that I do, this is why I left the debate bro sphere. This is why I stopped watching Hasan or Destiny or Asmin or anybody. Because every time I said I watched them, I pushed the narrative that anything they were doing was good. And I put people I love at risk. The reason I stopped engaging with these boy bubbles is because even though I had good intentions, it signaled to the community that I wasn't a safe space for them, because these boys aren't safe spaces for them. Even if I feel like I can learn something or I can figure it out or I can do, it doesn't matter. It's not good. And so that's why I say to you, like, I never want you to misunderstand what I'm doing here. I will never shy away from the fact that I'm flawed and that I have fucked up and done things, but I will also do my best to right that wrong. And this feels like, how do I have so much intense responsibility towards this and Taylor doesn't? I don't understand how I am taking this so seriously, right? With 400 people watching me, and Taylor Swift isn't taking it that seriously with all of those people watching. These boy streamers, okay, they say they care, they say they want to be better. Like, listen, I'm going to be 40 before Hasan, but some of these boys are 40 and they are not in any way serious. And I'm saying we got to be a little bit more serious, because at the end of the day, I'm at work. Hey, girls, at the end of the day, guys, listen, Ethan, Ethan, we're all coming to work. We gotta pick up our dog's poop. We gotta do stuff, Ethan. You can't just hang it around smoking bongs all day, okay? You know, like, at the end of the day, like, we're fucking old, and we can't keep coming to stream and fucking acting like we're teenagers. Or you can if you want, but then I'm gonna look at you like you're pathetic. Being 40 and acting like a kid is not cute. Being 40 and being, you know, all about that drama and you want to stay young and you're not cute. Next, we're going to have, you know, Hasan's going to get on stream. 6'7", 6'7". You're an adult. Get the fuck away from me. You're an adult. Leave these kids alone, bro. You know what I mean? Like, stop trying to be young, bro. And again, I get it. As a neurodivergent queen, I totally get the feeling of always feeling like a big kid. But, like, stop trying to appeal to children, you know? Anyways, we got to grow up a bit. You know, we got to grow up a bit. Chad says 6'7", 6'7". I just learned what 6'7" was, so I feel very in the know. I learned it this week. I learned something. I was like, what are the youths up to? You know? But that's the point. Okay, the point I'm trying to make is, like, Hank is in his 40s. Hasan is going to be 40 eventually. Like, Ethan is in his 40s. Like, come on. Okay, let's finish out this video.
Because being a Nazi is really fucking bad. And I don't build coalitions with Nazis, and you don't build coalitions with Nazis. So if you get convinced that people who are not Nazis are Nazis...
How does he know Taylor Swift isn't a Nazi? So that's the question. How do you know she's not a Nazi? I don't know that. Again, when we have conversations, okay, we have to think about those things. How do you know that? Because I don't know that. I don't know anything about, I don't know if somebody's a Nazi. And like, I would, you know, I don't know that. Right? Chet says, but aren't you 40? I'm 36. But I'm on my deconstruction journey to be ready to be 40. Okay, you guys gotta get ready, girls. That's why I'm changing my language. That's why I stopped watching the debate bros except for work. Because I noticed that when I listen to them, I become more misogynistic. When I'm in the bubble, I'm sure this is a very autistic thing of me to do, but when I'm around people, I talk like them. I mimic their accents. I mimic the way they talk because I'm trying to signal to them that I understand them. But the dilemma with that is they suck. So then I suck just by hanging out with them. So I don't want to do that. So that's why I stay away from them, because I'm trying to build a sort of relationship and signal to the right people, you know?
Then you're fucked. You are no longer able to help push back against anything because you are alienated from reality. And that's what your feed did to you. And that's what some people who just wanted you to be mad or who wanted to get some views on TikTok did to you. And that's what the TikTok algorithm did to you. And when TikTok is owned by a Trump ally, which is going to happen in the next probably couple of months, how will you ever trust again that what is being done to you by this app is not intentionally being done to help out that fascist, to help him maintain control, to help him keep profiting and doing the crony capitalism that is resulting in Larry Ellison getting control of this app? All of this, you cannot let bullshit like that, lies like that, alienated you so much from any potential alliance with people who disagree with you a little tiny bit. Don't let these systems break us. Fascism doesn't even have to try to fracture coalitions. It happens automatically. Don't let it happen.
You gotta stay in your lane, Hank. You know what I mean? Like, that was such a silly video to me. That was just so silly. You know, it's like so obviously ignorant to everything that's happening. Like, it's just, and this is what I'm saying. People will say, oh, the left eats itself, the left eats itself. Yeah, because at some point we gotta stop compromising. You know what I'm saying? We are compromising way too much. And it is ridiculous. And I'm sick of it. And every time we compromise, look, I'm not in politics. I get to compromise. You know, I mean, I don't have to compromise, right? I'm not trying to win. I'm trying to do what's good and what's right. So I think the big problem too is if you're trying to win an election, you almost have to trick people to vote for you. We're the same. I'm like you. Are you struggling? I'm struggling. And I'm saying if people aren't going to naturally be like choose the right way, then that's just how it is. I remember the debate bro. I talked to this debate bro and he was like, we should shame people to doing the right thing. I don't think that works. I don't think that works. I think either people do the right thing or they don't. So this is where my work comes in, okay? This is the work that I do. This is the work I recommend other people do if it's better for their joy, but I'm not making a prescription. So, okay. Here's planet Earth, okay? Most human beings think everything about reality exists sort of here. Some people think it exists in the planets over here, but mostly not. Like even people who believe in aliens and life outside of our planet, not really. Most of their reality really is here. Their consciousness is really there. Okay, here's politics. Politics is like this one bubble, okay? And here are all these other bubbles, and some of the bubbles overlap with these bubbles, and some of us have like all different perspectives, blah, blah, blah. Bubbles are just perceptions. We all live in bubbles, okay? There's nothing wrong with being in a bubble. I live in a bubble. You live in a bubble. But I'm visiting a bubble. So right now I'm in my work bubble, right? We all go to work. Or we all go somewhere outside. Okay, this is our work bubble. This is my work. Hi, guys. I'm at work right now. Thank you for joining me. This is my job. I clocked in today. Noon to midnight every day, baby. 12 hours. That's what I do. I clock in. Here I am. Hi, hello. 6 days a week. This is what I do. And I go into streamer mode. Okay? I go into streamer mode. I go into content mode. I think about work. I think about what I'm saying. I think about who's listening. I try to think, how do I convey this idea? I'm thinking. I am not meditating. I am probably not even really extrospecting in that moment. I'm just prepping for work. I'm prepping. Okay? So I show up. And now I am talking about a lot of bubbles that are overlapping. Okay? And all of us are here for different reasons. Okay? I have to think about, why am I here? That's part of the introspection. How do I feel about this and why am I here? And how does this impact the things outside of myself? Extrospection. Then I have to, on stream with you, deconstruct what it even means to know what I'm doing here. Because I spent all of my life trying to figure out what I was even doing staying alive. I had to figure out if I should kill myself or not. For 30 years of my life, it was just a matter of, should I kill myself, yes or no? That is the philosophical question I pondered for 30 years of my life. And now what I am pondering is how to maintain consistency with growth, progression, and making sure that I am acting in a way that reduces harm. I'm trying to be a little less bad every day, okay? So when I got here, okay, to this position, I looked at the world and said, okay, so this is primarily the center of the universe in a limited scope, but it works. Okay, fine, deal. How do I, in my bubble over here, okay, maybe I should make it red actually, in my bubble over here, how do I find a way to interact with all of these bubbles in a way that is like constructive and thoughtful and kind and compassionate, while still acknowledging that there's a whole universe out there and I just don't have access to it. And that's okay too. So I acknowledge this to help me understand that I'm just a biological creature on a planet. But my day-to-day work has to coincide with my relationship with these people. So I use my family as an example if you're new to my content, okay? I look at my family bubble and my family structure and I think, why haven't I been able to get my MAGA parents to deconstruct or examine their relationship with their conservative bubble? And then I expand it out. Hank Green is trying to build a bridge with people who basically will never do it with him. Did you see this video? Hold on, let me see if I can find it really fast. And it's hard to realize that. It was really hard for me to realize Like, you can't force people to work with you. They either are or they're not going to, and you still have to show up and do the right thing anyways. Look at this is a King's protest this is the issue, right? Look at this. No King's protester angry at Palestine flag.
Don't put your hands on her. You're in a public place. News is just going to take a beautiful picture of this and paint us all as, like we're
pro-humanity, anti-genocide, pro-humanity.
But it's the wrong. You're at the wrong event, dude.
I don't think so.
I'm sorry.
Why do you think this is the wrong message here?
Because this is no kings. This is about the United States. It's about our democracy. Don't put that thing on.
Whoa.
It's about our
democracy.
Don't put your hands on her.
You're in a public place.
Okay. Don't put that on me. I'm just saying.
If you don't want to talk to him, but you just went up and yelled at him. Whoa. And by the way, I just want to say that the bombs haven't stopped. I just watched 11 people get massacred this morning, and Israel has violated the ceasefire dozens of times, as we knew they would. So that's also why we're out here. Why was that woman so hostile to you? I don't know. I actually don't know. I'm just out here for humanity and for Palestinians who are still being genocided, still occupied. There's still apartheid. So to be honest with you, I'm baffled. I don't understand it. Yeah. I guess she's pro-genocide. No king's pro-genocide. Seems like, yeah.
Okay, is Hank asking me to build a coalition with who would Hank Green? Whose side would he take in this conversation? Like, in this conversation, who's Hank Green siding with? Do you know what I mean? Like, which side is he choosing? Because I feel like he's almost gonna side with the lady who wanted them to take their flag down. You're at the wrong protest. Oh, if you think Taylor Swift is a Nazi, like, you didn't, you got to show up to the No Kings protest. Like, I don't know who he'd choose. And that's the dilemma, is like, okay, what are we trying to do here? What is it that we're trying to do? Okay. Chess says CEOs force people to work for them all the time. Okay, let's just talk about that really fast, because you said it's just hard with how material conditions affect everybody. Listen to me when I say this, okay? This is what I believe. I think we are biological, evolved creatures on a planet. I think we don't have as much free will as we think we have, and it burdens us because we wonder why the world won't change, but we don't change. We don't change. And when we do change, it feels like unbelievable. So when I tell people, oh, I changed, people go, no, that's not possible. And yet with the same breath go, how could these people be so evil? So what is it, girls? Do people change or do they not change? It's a little bit of both. That's why I created my framework, the levels, because I'm trying to give people an understanding that, like, most people aren't changing, but not because they can't, but kind of because they can't. There's a limitation because the process needs to occur for the change to happen. You can't just switch. Oh, guys, thank you so much for telling me being a Nazi was bad. I'm going to switch. It's not enough. We literally can't just tell people to be better. There's a process that has to happen. So if there's a process that needs to happen, are we all willing to accept that the process has to happen? That's really hard, because for a process to happen, it kind of means that it can't happen fast enough. And that's where we get really frustrated. That's where I felt very frustrated with the world, where I was like, you're not moving fast enough for me. And then I learned that the single person always moves faster than the group. So I'm always going to be ahead and go back behind and push people forward. Because at the end of the day, I kept yelling at people, run faster, run faster, run faster. And people were like, Brittany, I can't run that fast. I'm carrying all of these burdens. I'm like, fuck your burdens. Run faster, bitch. And then I was sitting here not understanding that along my journey, I had slowly started clipping those burdens away. And that's why I was ahead, because I had been doing this thing. And then I realized, oh, I'm fucked up. I'm fucked up for telling people to run faster while they're carrying all these burdens. How do I go behind them and help push their burdens with them? How do I help them cut their burdens away? How do I help them? Right? And this goes for my family. This goes for my family, like my neighbors. This goes for the people in my life. How do I look at them and say, I know you're going through it, and I know the universe has not blessed me with enough patience, but I'm going to try. But you are burdened. Okay? How do I help you with that? And then how do we then take responsibility for the way the world is as a whole? Why do I not eat animal flesh anymore. Or I should say right now, because who knows what the future holds. But why do I not eat animal flesh? Is it because I'm vegan? Technically not. So if I'm talking to a normie and they say, Brittany, are you vegan? I say yes. If I go to a restaurant, they go, are you vegan? I say yes. If, vegan gaze, G-A-Z-E-L says, hey, Britt, are you vegan? I'd say no. Why? Because in L's bubble, being vegan is a philosophical belief system. Okay, it's an embodied relationship with this idea that animals are their own agents, okay, with free will and choices and consciousness. If I go to a restaurant and they say, hey, Brittany, are you vegan? I would say yes, because what they're asking me is, is it okay if your food contains animal product? And I'd say no, it's not okay. These are two different bubbles with two different perspectives on what the word vegan means, right? And so when we examine the world and we have conversations about the world, what we're doing is, and this is why when people watch me, sometimes they feel like Brittany is wishy-washy. I'm just talking to different bubbles, and different bubbles use words differently. And so I'm always like changing my script to who I'm talking to, because I want them to understand me to the best of our ability. Because if I only talk the way I talk, like in my own personal life, then they're not going to understand me, and it's going to cause friction. But how many people out here are doing that? How many people in the world are actually thinking, this person's from a different culture, this person has a different belief, this person uses words differently. How do I use words similar to them so we're on the same page? Now, this might be also very neurodivergent of me, because a lot of us throughout our life realize, you're using words differently from me. We're all having different conversations. When I first talked about Kaya and Hasan, I mentioned the misogyny and the idea of exploitation around female animals. And I understand this is so fucking beyond, misogyny, veganism 101. I understand. I'm in an advanced AP class. I understand. Okay? I get it. But also, that means I can never have the conversations I want to have, because I always have to come down to where is the most common denominator for me to have the conversation? Because I understand when I'm in the vegan bubbles, they know what I'm saying because I learned it from them. But if I'm outside the vegan bubble, I can't say it without people being like, what the fuck are you even talking about? What does Kaya being a girl dog have to do with anything? Well, I don't know. Some people have a theory that XYZ, right? So again, when we have these conversations, we're dealing with the nuance between billions of different people with billions of different ideas. So when Hayden Green goes, if you are tricked by the internet to believe Taylor Swift is a Nazi, you've lost touch. And I'm looking at him like, you've lost touch, because you're doing exactly what everyone has always done. Don't pay attention. Don't ask questions. Put your head in the sand and move forward. And I'm saying we have the right to question if she's a Nazi. And the fact that he thinks we don't have the right to question that is the problem. Okay? We have the right to question, hey girl, what's this about? We have the same way, listen to this. My mother would say, being conservative, my father, right? They would say, this is a trick in liberal media. So you see all these little dog, they wouldn't use the word dog whistle, but they would say this is propaganda. Oh, look at the way they're trying to talk about men or the military or gay people. Ooh, look at this. And I'd say, okay, pause. So media has propaganda, yes? And propaganda is good or bad, right? It's just a means of getting out a message. So do you know when your people are doing it? And they're like, well, we don't do that. And I'm like, so liberals have dog whistles. Again, they wouldn't use that word, but I'd say, so liberals have tricks. They're tricking you. But conservatives are never tricking you. And they say, well, maybe bad conservatives. Well, who would be a bad conservative? Well, the bad ones. Well, who? And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it takes a lot of humility to first say you were wrong. And that's why I try to, even if it's not being humble, I really try to tell you guys, if you ever see me make a video and you're like, I'm done with Brittany, I respect you. You are allowed to be done watching me. I hope you're done watching me because you're wiser and smarter than me, and not because you fell down a pipeline of right-wing conservatism and you fucking suck Asmund Gold's dick. You know what I'm saying? I hope that's not the reason you stop following me, but I hope if you grow past me, you stop following me. If I am no longer serving your joy, I hope you unfollow me. But I just hope it's for a good reason and not a bad reason. I would be heartbroken, I think, if, and sometimes I feel that way when people are like, I used to like you, but now you're just siding with Hasan. It's like, oh my God, bro. Like, I don't want you to, but I don't have control. I don't have a say in what you do. So I just hope you're joyful. I just hope you're happy. I just hope you find your place in the universe type thing. I just hope a lot of things, right? But at the end of the day, and I say this with peace and love, right? I am not here to jump into these boy bubbles and get mixed into this drama, but I am here to point out that this drama is exactly why the world is the way it is. When I say things like, you would think Ethan and Hasan could get along, what I'm trying to say is you would think two human beings who seemingly seem well-intentioned would be able to get along, except in this moment now we've seen over the last 2 years why they can't, is exactly why the world is the way it is. Because Ethan, in my opinion, is on the wrong side of history and is engaging in bad faith arguments. That's because he's uneducated, because he's not curious, right? And I think he made a big mistake with the way that he's acting, but I think that it's past a mistake at this point. It's not like an oopsie. It's an intentional decision to not educate himself and double down. Yes? So of course Hasan can't get along with him on principle. But of course, with Hasan, you cannot ask Black communities, women, minorities, myself, to keep getting along with Hasan because he's better than Ethan. We have the right to look at Hasan and say, you're not doing it. You're not keeping up. You're not keeping up. I need you to keep up. And it's like, I need more than this. I need more than what you're offering. Right? Now, you don't have to not watch Hasan. You can watch anybody, right? I trust you. You're an adult. But if you're going to fight for Hasan in these comments, if you're going to waste your very limited time on earth in these comments fighting for Hasan, just think about what you could be doing with that energy. Like, obviously Hasan is the best of the worst, but that's not saying much. He's, you know what I mean? Okay, now hold on. I think I had one more video I wanted to show you, but I don't see it in my lineup. Hold on. Let me see if I can make sure. I think... Hold on, is it this one? No, not that one. Hold on. Did I show you everything? In relation to this topic. Okay, did I show you? Isn't there one more? Isn't there one more? Here's Hank. Maybe not. Okay. I guess that's all. Any questions on this topic before I move on? Chad says, who do you watch, Brittany? I also watch Financial Diet, but anything else? Okay, that's an interesting question because I'm too autistic to answer that question. Okay, I also watch the Financial Diet, but I have so many criticisms of Chelsea lately. I have so many criticisms of Chelsea, and I still love her. Do you get what I'm saying? I like Chelsea a lot, but I watched one of her videos recently, and I was like, okay. That's the problem. Are you asking me, Brittany, in my personal time, who do I watch and like? Are you asking me, Brittany, as a YouTuber, who do you watch for research? Are you asking me, Brittany, who do you watch? Like, you see how hard this question is for me? Because what are you asking? You know what I mean? This is what I'm saying. Like, this is my special interest. It's like, asking someone like what their favorite music is, but the person who listens to every album that's ever come out, it's like, yeah, I have preferences, but I might not like them in a week. Do you know what I'm saying? So if you asked me 2 weeks ago, do you watch Hank Green? I would have said yes. And now you ask me now and I'm like, nah. So that's the issue too, is like, I did watch Hasan for a little while after I fell off Destiny, because Destiny was my introduction to Hasan. So I don't know if you guys realize this. I've been in these political circles for so long, but I never ran into Hasan and I never ran into Destiny, ever. Like, I never ran into them. So then when I got introduced to Destiny, I was like, oh, like, okay, fuck Hasan. I guess he's this bad person. And then I was like, wait, fuck Destiny. He's this bad person. And then I was like, wait, fuck all these people. What is happening? Like, I didn't know these people, even though I had been in like these bubbles for so long. We never overlapped. How crazy is that? We had been on similar channels and we had never overlapped. Isn't that crazy? Which I'm grateful for every day. Oh my God. Like, I'm so grateful my younger person, like when I was younger, I didn't get integrated into these communities. My liberal ass would have eaten it up, bro. I would have eaten it up, I'm just so glad I came to it later in life, you know? Chaz says, who do you watch? Who do you observe? Who do you study? All different questions. Hey, all different questions, you know? Right? Chaz says she isn't criticizing Hasan. She's criticizing his stances. I mean, that could be one and the same to some bubbles, right? That's the question. When we criticize people, are we criticizing them? Sometimes. Like, are your stances you? I think all human beings from a biological perspective are limited creatures who are suffering. And I think even though you're suffering, that doesn't mean that we can't do something about it, right? Like, I think there are no such thing as bad dogs, even when dogs are bad. I don't think there's any such thing as like a bad human from a biological perspective, even though sometimes humans are bad. But I think on the micro sense, if you are like, hey, is this a bad person? I would say like most people are bad. But if you ask me in a philosophical sense, are people bad? I say most people are good. It depends on how we're asking the question. Because like all trips are good trips, even bad trips. All dogs are good dogs, even bad dogs. All humans are good humans, even bad humans. But also like humans are bad. They do bad things. They really hurt each other. You know, they really hurt themselves. But same with dogs. Same with people. You know? So again, when we have these conversations, we're really asking ourselves, what does it mean to be on a planet? What does it mean to be a person and exist? How do I know I'm a good person if I've been trained by a bad world, right? And am I allowed to feel like a good person even when I do fucked up shit? Or when I make a mistake? Or when I make an oopsie? Or when I even make a bad choice? Am I allowed to feel like a good person even when I make bad choices? And that's the question. Like, these are all very important questions.